So what are payoffs to symptoms? Whenever I talk about this subject, I always get these mixed reviews, some that are not so happy with what I have to say. And I'm going to be honest with you, I was really taken aback when I was first introduced to this concept of payoffs to symptoms. At first, I thought that, oh, this person is telling me that I want to have these symptoms or that I'm doing this on purpose. I don't want to be sick. I don't want to have pain. I don't want to feel discomfort. How dare they say something like that? Now, when I took the time to actually listen to what this person was telling me, and it was actually a therapist that I had gone to initially, she basically said to me, what if the migraines you're experiencing and the debilitating pain is a way of getting your needs met? And I was like, no, that's impossible. No, it doesn't make sense. And when I started to just kind of think about this for a minute, without judgment, just to be curious about it, I started to see some patterns. And it wasn't just with the migraines, it was with a lot of the other symptoms I had. And one of the patterns, let's say for the migraine example, is that anytime that my husband would come home from work, I would get a migraine. And it would be intense. And what would I do? I would go to my room, turn off the lights, and just relax. I would get away from everyone, away from everything, and I would rest. And so what need was being met there? Well, I had been with the kids all day. I was overwhelmed. There was just so much sensory overload. I was feeling really tired, and I felt too guilty to ask for some time away from my kids because I was like, moms don't do that. I can't be away from my kids. I can't purposely choose to just leave them. That would make me a bad mom. So my body's going to do it for me. So I would create, or I would have this this migraine. Again, it was not conscious. I did not choose this. I didn't realize it was happening. But my survival brain was like, okay, this need is not going to be met unless we do something that is going to be recognized by someone else and get her needs met. And so I would develop a migraine and I would have that time off. So my need was met. My need for rest, quiet, just being that alone time was met. And so it served a purpose. Now I have another example. There were a lot of things that I didn't want to do, but I could not say no. I could not, reject the invitation. So if there is an event coming up, a wedding, a birthday party or something like that, and I just didn't feel up to going, instead of saying no, my body would say it for me. So I started to see these patterns of, right before an event or, a wedding or birthday or whatever it might be, I would have an increase in symptoms. Or I would develop a brand new symptom that I didn't have before. And what did that allow me to do? Well, that gave me a valid, quote unquote, valid reason to not go to this event or this space. Now, the reason I didn't want to go to this space is because I didn't feel safe there. For instance, I felt like there were people who would judge me there, or just people who I didn't, resonate with and I didn't want to be there with. Or there was something I wanted to do instead. And so I would go and say yes to these things out of obligation. But what would happen was most of the time, that survival response, that protective coping mechanism would kick in and say, she doesn't want to go to this. This is dangerous. So let's give her a reason. And so a lot of the times it would be like I would have insane dizziness, vertigo. I would have, these unexplainable abdominal cramps and pain. I would have, like a whole slew of different symptoms that would come up. And that gave me a get out of jail free card. I could not go to these things. And again, that was me not being able to say no, not being able to prioritize my needs and do what I want to do. So that was another payoff to these symptoms. So as you can see, if you take the time to really notice with curiosity and awareness, without judgment, guys, we're not doing this on purpose. But these are patterns of protection and survival that we needed at one point. Maybe they served a purpose. I know for myself, they did serve a purpose, but we don't need them anymore because we are resourced now. We know better now. We can see them now. And so we can choose differently. We can choose to meet our needs. We can choose to prioritize ourselves. We can choose to place and enforce boundaries. We can choose to do the things that we want to do, right? All of these amazing things that maybe didn't feel safe to us before, and our brains had to be creative and come up with these amazing ways to get us out of these things. Maybe we don't have to do that anymore. What if instead of a migraine, I could just say, hey, I'm going to go rest for a bit, right? What if instead of, feeling all these other symptoms of activations before an event, I could just say, I don't want to go. I'm not going to make it. I'm going to do something that I want to do today instead. So I'm just bringing these to light because this is something I talk about with my clients a lot, and something that really was life-changing for me. When I started to notice these patterns, I was able to choose differently. And it wasn't easy at first. It was a really slow process, but becoming aware of it, the awareness itself, was so empowering, friends. So I encourage you, I invite you to ask some of these questions, right? Ask, how are these symptoms serving me today? And is there another way for me to meet these needs? Can I choose differently? What are my other options? How can I say no? How can I prioritize me? How can I do the things that are supportive to me in my journey? So I'll leave that with you, and please comment below and maybe share how or some of the patterns that you have seen that have come up for you in your journey. And again, there's no judgment here, and there's no shame. Guys, this is all part of the process. And I want you to just be curious and just be aware.